Hey, what's up everybody? This is Joshua Casper, and today I'm going to show you how to generate ideas quickly and easily inside of Ableton Live for cinematic percussion using Zimmer Percussion by Spitfire Audio. So that's just one example I have that I generated from a drum loop that's unrelated to anything. I just kind of cycled through MIDI drum loops until I found one that made my, my hair stand up and say, hey, this is something you can work with. And then I finessed it down into a final product or something similar. And the techniques I'm going to show you work really well for this workflow. So if you have difficulty generating ideas, this is a great way to do it. And this works for other libraries, but if you have something like Zimmer Percussion by Spitfire Audio, it's really difficult to get a bad sound because it's drums recorded and mastered and mixed by Hans Zimmer himself. So they're huge. Let's just open this up and check out some of these drums. So this is the Hans Zimmer Percussion instrument, though the download comes with a dedicated instrument for timpanis and then a bunch of presets for things like metal or epic hits and things like that. And then each one of the drums separated in things. So you could really have a full range of control. But the one I really gravitate towards is the Hans Zimmer Percussion because it's really got a preset set out that sounds really great and all the drums work really well together and they're all mixed by Hans Zimmer. So you don't really need to worry about too much in terms of how loud one thing is over another. So let's jump into this tutorial, and I've just got a few examples kind of laid out here. Got that one, and some of these might actually be a slower BPM or something. So I just want to point out one more time, these aren't really edited by me. These are just random MIDI clips that I have in my MIDI library that I've put on this track with Hans Zimmer Percussion, and they're giving me really great results that I can go in and manipulate and change and make into a final product. So this is really a way to generate ideas. So let me show you how to do it. So let me just go ahead and delete all of this MIDI, delete these two MIDI things. I'm going to re-add them and tell you why I've added them. So the first thing I'm going to do is find a piece of MIDI. And if you have Ableton Live, there's a few free packs on abletonlive.com that you can download to get some really great, interesting MIDI that works well with Hans Zimmer Percussion. And it's inside of the Concrete Breaks one. If I open up the clips here, we have a number of MIDI clips. And what we can do is actually just take one. Let's take the dark light. And if I click and drag it, it's only going to take the MIDI. It's not going to take the instrument or anything like that. So here's that MIDI, and I've still got my Hans Zimmer. So let's see what that sounds like right out of the box. So that's a little bit weird, right? If you look inside of here, we're not getting some of the hits that are present inside of here. And that's because inside of Hans Zimmer Percussion, it only uses the white keys. It doesn't use any of the black keys. So what we need to do is use a MIDI effect. If I jump into MIDI effects, come into scale, come down to C major. The C major scale only uses the white keys, and this MIDI effect is going to push any incoming MIDI note that uses the black keys to the white keys. So now if we play it, every one of these MIDI notes is going to get triggered. You can kind of hear one of the examples already kind of transforming here. So what I can do is unfold it and then start kind of arranging things to make it a little bit better. So actually, you know what? Let's do this. So we've already established something that sounds really great, and it's definitely a good starting point. Like there's no reason to think that we can't go somewhere exciting and really flesh an idea just by doing those couple of changes and using that MIDI effect. There's a couple other things I want to show you in terms of generating ideas like this. And the next one is the groove pool. I'm going to open it up here, and I've got quantized 32 on here. There's another one. There are a couple other ones too, but I'm going to use that quantized 32. And what this does is moves the MIDI clips or MIDI notes inside of the MIDI clip a little bit to the front or to the back, so everything's not hitting exactly the same, giving it that robotic feel. And if you look inside of here, these are all right on the grid. If we zoom in, you'll see that they're all right on the grid, and we don't want that. So what we want to do is apply that groove. And if you don't see that, you just want to open up the groove pool right here, right click, browse groove library, and then come down to quantize, and right inside of there is the 32. You can really pick any of them, and then it's just really easy to change it from the bass, quarter note to a 32nd. And then you just want to change the timing, random, and velocity. And these numbers don't have to be too big. You just want a little bit of movement in there. And that actually really helps to distinguish between two hits that happen at the same time, on top of making it feel more human and less robotic. And the next thing you need to do is jump into the MIDI clip, and inside of the groove clip window here, choose that groove. And now it's applied to this clip. So let's see what it sounds like. And let's go ahead and boost up the BPM. That's too much. I really like this little roll happening over here. And again, like maybe I don't like the rest of this, I can always just keep that roll and maybe bounce it to a sampler or something, or change the what percussion is being hit, but it sounds really good, right? And the other thing I really like to do when generating ideas like this is use another MIDI effect called Add Some Random, and that's right inside of MIDI effects, inside of the velocity menu, down here, Add Some Random. And this just randomizes the MIDI notes inside of the clip. And if you don't know what any of these things do, for example, any of these timing versus randomness, or the drive versus the comp here, you just got to open the info view down here in the bottom left and hover over any of them, and it'll tell you. So compand, drive, and stuff like this. So what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and drive this. I'm going to pull the out to something like a little bit like 115. And this means when something is triggered randomly, how high it will go. So if we have it at 127, it sometimes will hit 127. And I'm going to bring the low rate way up because I don't want anything to be too quiet. And the range is the other really cool feature here, and that if I do want something to quiet, but I want it to always be quiet, I just got to pull the lowest value up, and that means the random effect will only be applied to values in between these two numbers. So if I pull it down to say 121 and 46, only velocity values for these notes in between those two will be randomized, and anything lower will always be whatever the velocity is inside of the clip, and anything higher. So if I have some hits that I really always want to be 127, I could just make them 127 inside of the MIDI clip right here, and that one will always hit at 127 because it's outside of the randomized value range. So that's a good way to do it. And if we wanted to come in, we could start changing things a little bit more. I think here in the middle it's a little bit cluttered, so and if you take fold off, you'll be able to get more options. So that sounds a little bit better. And really it's just, you want to come in and start working things a little bit differently now that you have an idea started, obviously. But let's just see how easy it is to get a different idea going. Again, all I need to do is come into my MIDI library. Any one of the packs that has sort of a drum MIDI clip are perfect for this type of thing. So if I come into Niche Audio, all of their packs have great MIDI loops. Just come into something like post dubstep. And I know it says post dubstep, but these really fit well in sort of this type of project. So I'll come into the project and just choose one of these. And right here, these are all the drum style MIDI patterns. If I just take that and again, drop it on the clip. And again, the only thing you need to change once you do that when you're generating ideas, the MIDI effects are going to stay the same. The only thing you need to do is reapply that groove. So let's say I really like this. We can even move full sections to different areas. So obviously that one's not good, and what I would do in this process is just choose a different clip, and I would just keep doing this until something happens fairly easily or something catches my ear and I'm like, yo, that sounds really good. Like particularly this little roll right here. I really like the way it sounds. If we can actually turn off the random for that and jump back in. So without that random, that little roll right there sounds perfect. And again, I can just delete everything else and save that little clip inside of my library for use in a later time. Just call it like little roll or something like that. And I want to keep stressing, this is just a way to find ideas quickly. If you don't want to sit down and make a pattern inside of here, which could take a while, and it might be good to do it that way around sort of a track, but just generating ideas, it's just phenomenal doing it this way. So the last thing I want to do is just check out some of these presets. I've just got the Derbuka loaded here, and I'm using that same MIDI clip as before, but it's only going to be triggered by this octave right here. So it sounds really good. It sounds really driving, you know what I mean? Let's check out the bass drums, because who doesn't like bass? What about the machine ensemble? As you can see, this is actually way up here at the top. So it actually sounds good just hitting those couple of MIDI notes, but let's move these other ones to that range. I don't know, something like this. So that's crazy. That sounds really good. I'm not sure what it's useful for, but it sounds amazing. And then it has to do with just this random MIDI clip and those perfect drums by Hans Zimmer and Spitfire Audio. That's where I'm going to end the video right now because we're getting kind of long on time, but the drum library is crazy. And the fact that I can just plug in random MIDI notes that are already kind of in a groove and it sounds mind-bogglingly awesome is just a win-win-win-win. But if you can, I highly suggest checking out Hans Zimmer Percussion by Spitfire Audio. Anyway, we'll see you next time.